Hello, I'm Matt Ledbetter, your president of Old Folk Art, and today we have the pleasure of viewing a collection that came out of the mountains of North Carolina. Mr. Bugs was happy to let us view his collection, and we get to see different examples of North Carolina jugs. Behind me, we have several jugs, starting with Western North Carolina. We move into the Randolph County area, Chatham County, and then down into the Alamance County region. Mr. Bugs was a collector. He bought a lot of pottery back in the 70s, and this is just a touch of the collection that he has. We're going to go deeper into his collection as we get on with our monthly interviews. But we're going to start right with the Catawba Valley. These are sin made by Reinhardt. We know that by the 4.5. And notice the little handle, little strap handle, 100% Reinhardt. And this jug would command a fair price from $500, estimated auction value $500 to $800, possibly a little more. Here we have another Western North Carolina piece of pottery. Maker is unknown. It could be a Siegel School piece. The decoration is pretty pronounced. Notice the spout, the ribs on the spout usually indicates a Siegel School piece, and then you can see the decoration around the rim. It's pretty rare to find one this small. I mean, this is about 7 inches, and you can see how it starts small at the bottom and it rounds out. This is just a fantastic form. You very rarely find forms that look this good. But both of these pieces are from Western North Carolina, towards the mountains. We got a little miniature example, and these are very rare. I have not seen but 3 miniature Western North Carolina jugs, and you can see how small that is. I mean, it fits in the palm of your hand. It does have a broke handle, and if it didn't have a broke handle, I'm sure at auction this piece would demand $100, $200, possibly more. But you know, right around $150 is its worth. Fine example though of a Western North Carolina old miniature. You know, a lot of people make new miniatures, but the old ones are very rare. So we have 3 Western North Carolina examples. Now we're going to move closer to the Piedmont, North Carolina, and we're going to start with Randolph County. We're going to start right here with the John Anderson Craven. And I know we all know about the Cravens and a little bit more about J.D. Craven, Jacob Dorris Craven, and John Anderson Craven were brothers, born the same era, you know, 1890s, 1880s. But John Anderson Craven, and we can see the JAC mark. And John Anderson Craven, however, passed away when he was 35. So his pieces demand quite a bit more than the J.D. Craven. However, J.D. Cravens are coming up in value. Notice this one has a broke handle. But, you know, a standard J.D. Craven would demand $500 to $700, whereas a JAC can demand anywhere from $1,000 to $3,000. And possibly a little more, but they're right there in the $1,000 and up range, where a J.D. Craven is still under $1,000, depending on the piece. But fine example of a Randolph County piece of pottery. Here we're going to move to another fantastic example, mint condition. Notice the drips. That's what collectors of North Carolina pottery are after. They're after the drips. You know, there's several examples, and I'll show you some in a minute, of just plain pieces, but these drips add value to the piece. And also, it's a little bit smaller. It's a quart size, and we're going to attribute this, though it's not signed, to Anderson Craven, which is J.D. Craven and John Anderson Craven's father, Anderson Craven. Made about 1840, and I'll tell you why we're going to attribute to that is the handle. Notice the handle, how it's applied. It's stuck to the lip, and there's several signed examples of this that we can find with this exact handle and this exact shape Notice the lip. It's not quite, it's more ovoid than it is bulbous. It's slender. But regardless of who it's attributed to, the drips really make this piece. I mean, just fantastic. Fantastic drips. 100% Randolph County. We attribute it to Anderson Craven. Okay, we're going to stay in the Randolph County area. Completely different maker. This is unsigned, but we can attribute this to a J.M. Yao era, Erect, North Carolina, or possibly a W.H. Hancock. But you see this form a lot. It demands 100 to 200. If somebody really wants it, they could possibly play 250 to 300 and still be okay. But this is a fine example. Notice the delicate strap handle. Notice, it took time to make this spout. This isn't just a spout they tooled out. It took a lot of time to do that. And notice the bulbousness of this jug. Fine example of a Randolph County piece. Okay, we're going to move back closer to Alamance County, and we're going to get to this piece. Again, unsigned, but perfect. Mint condition, attributed to J.F. Brower or a Fox. And J.F. Brower owned the pottery. He never made pottery, but it was stamped J.F. Brower. Again, anybody who knows, if you ever see this type of handle attached, notice how it's attached. You can pretty much guess that it's going to be a J.F. Brower or a Fox. Again, notice that handle. And unsigned, this piece would still demand, this is a fantastic form, and again, it's perfect. It will still demand maybe 200, 225, up into the 300s. Would not be a bad price. Again, it's a mint piece of pottery. And Chatham County rings a bell when we think about this piece. Notice the differences in the glazes. This one is sort of a lighter glaze, as that one's a dark glaze. Can you see the difference in that? Alright. Okay, now we're going to move into Alamance County, which is home of Solomon Lloyd, Timothy Boggs, and the Wood and Lloyd factories. We're going to go to a Wood and Lloyd piece, 100% made at the Wood and Lloyd kiln, possibly Wood and Boggs, unsigned, but 100%, came right out of Alamance County, came out of an estate, and near perfect. Everything is there. It does have a hairline that seems to be growing. Every time I look at it, it gets bigger. But anyway, and again, the drips. Look at the drips. That's what makes this piece. If this piece was just a regular and looked like this, if it looked like that all the way around, we're not talking about much. But when we get to that, pronounced drip, going almost all the way down, that's when it starts to add value. Now, if this piece was signed, we're looking at thousands, 2 to 5,000. Unsigned drops it all the way back down to possibly $150 to $300 as a good auction estimate. But 100% Wood and Lloyd. And notice this handle. I'm going to pull this J.F. Brower back. Notice the differences in the handle. Okay, so we have this handle. It's a strap handle. How it straps in. Okay. Now, again, notice that applied this handle. How it fits into the lip. It doesn't just roll down. So that is one way we can attribute pieces, because, I'm not saying that every potter made pottery the same way every time, but for the most part, you see a signed piece and you see an unsigned piece made the same way, you can attribute it to that potter. So the last piece we're going to look at, now we got a couple more. Another Alamance County potter is Timothy Boggs. And his pieces, for some reason, his jugs don't demand that much. They're not that pretty. A lot of them are broke. His canning jars, we have a canning jar here, we'll show you in just a little bit. His canning jars do get up closer to $700-800. But you'll see the TB stamp. Stamp Timothy Boggs. Notice the glass drip. And if this piece was covered in glass, you're still talking maybe upwards towards 1,000. The more whistles and bells, that's what you're looking for. The more whistles and bells the piece has, the better. And you can see that this handle, was one of those that was just strapped in, as opposed to applied into. It wasn't applied into the lip. It was strapped down. So that's another. Remember, we can always look at that handle. And we're going to go to two other miniature pieces. 100% Alamance County. 100%. Maker unknown. This came out of an Alamance County home. Broke handle, but and it doesn't demand that much money. You could possibly buy this at auction for $20, but just depending on what kind of pottery you like to collect, Alamance County, Randolph County, it would, it's a good find. Here we're going to go to a Randolph County / Alamance County piece. Better, the thing that makes this one is it is decorated in blue, and we can look at the bottom and tell that it's not 1920s Jugtown. It's more in the 1890s, 1880s. So it's really good form. If it had a handle, we'd be looking at $300 to $400, maybe possibly $500. Without the handle, it just knocks it down to $100. $75 to $100 on that one. The last jug we're going to look at from the North Carolina series of jugs is one of the earliest forms and one of the earliest makers. They migrated from up north down to Fayetteville, North Carolina. Part of the Bird and Fish saga is Chester Webster, and his father Edward Webster came down. He broke away from Goodwin and Webster, and Chester Webster actually found his way to Randolph County also. But this is 100% Webster School, and there's several ways we know this. If you don't know anything about the Bird and Fish pottery, there's a great reference book out. Quincy Yarborough puts it out, and they're actually making another one. I would recommend it. A couple ways that we know this is Webster School, and we can attribute it to Chester Webster, but 100% Webster School. We look at the lip. Classic Webster form with the tooled lip, strap handle, and also the stamp. The stamp probably gives it away the most on this piece, along with the incised rings. But the number one stamp in the circle, that's what 100%, along with the lip. You will only see this kind of lip on Chester Webster pieces. I mean, it's just, you can't mistake that lip. No way. So, fine example, this piece dates to 1820 to 1830, possibly later 1830s. Perfect condition. This one's got a little problem with the handle's been glued back. Perfect, you're looking at $500 to $800. In this condition, $200. If this were to have a incised bird or fish, well, we're talking $20,000 to $30,000, depending on what the motif was. We went from Western North Carolina closer to the Piedmont with Randolph County, Chatham County, right into Alamance County, and we'll get a close-up view of these items and talk a little bit more about them, maybe in detail. Look at the color differences in pieces. We have this gray, we have a gray color, then we go to what I call a green color. I like to call this green. Green. Definitely green on this miniature. To the gray. Alkaline glaze. Alkaline. More of a grayish color. Now we get more to the sandy brown color when we start talking the drips, whistles and bells. It's all about whistles and bells. I'm going to show you one more example that we pulled from the Bose collection. This is another Alamance County attributed to Boggs, Timothy Boggs, and you can see how the glass drips on this piece were going to play out. It got a little over fired, so as you can see, it's a little burnt, but fantastic drips. And that's what makes a piece, you know, the whistles and bells. If the whole piece looked just like this, you know, not very pretty, but once you start getting those drips into it, it starts adding dollar bills. So we can auction this one off if you'd like to. All right, get it at 2,000. Get it at 2. Get it at $2,000. Get it at 1,500. Hey, get it at 2. Get it at 2. Get it at 2. 200. Get it at $100 bill. All right, 100. Thank you. Now 10. Get it at 10. Get it at 10. Get it at 10. $110 bill. Get it at 10. Get it at 20. 120. Get it at 30. Get it at 40. 140. Now 50. 150. 100 and a half. Hey, get it at 45. I get it at 45. Gotta go. 140. Sold them out $140. It was broke right here, not signed. About 140 is all you're gonna get out of this one. Thank you for tuning in with Old Folk Art, and if you saw this, then that means you're a member of the Old Folk Art Society. Please contact any friends you know that might enjoy looking at something like this. If you have any suggestions, please contact our staff, and we'll be happy to accommodate anything. If you see anything that we did wrong, please contact our staff, and we will not hesitate to make corrections. If you have any input on any of the pieces that you saw today, shoot us an email, and you know, we're learning too. We always like to learn. And if you have a collection that you'd like to be featured on Old Folk Art, and as you can see, we did state that this was Mr. Boggs' collection, but we do not show any surroundings. There's no way that you can know where this collection is as far as security purposes. So thank you very much, and we'll see you next time.